For better or worse, B2B buyers have been trained by being B2C buyers. Good morning, everybody. Today, Ruby and myself are talking about why is it so challenging for B2B companies to understand that a lot of their buyers, their digitally native buyers, are challenged by what they offer in terms of being B2B buyers because they have been trained by companies like Amazon and Old Navy and a bunch of million other different companies out there that are supplying a process, a simple, frictionless, discount-driven process, free shipping, that makes it way easier for them to buy in that context than it is when they go to a B2B process. So that makes tons of sense when it comes to B2C. B2B, different animal, different thing. Because obviously we have bigger processes, bigger companies, bigger systems, bigger orders. And it's not the same model. It's not the same way of looking at how someone buys. However, in this construct, your buyer is being trained to think in a certain way, to seek a frictionless process, to not want to deal with sales directly until they're absolutely 100% ready. And a lot of B2B companies need to think in these terms. What is it that we think our buyers need? How do they make a buying decision based upon this stuff? What friction do we put in place? Much of the friction is for good reasons. It's about talking to sales and production and setting up quotes and doing all the things that, an average B2B company for these large scale projects need to do. The challenge is on the other side of that coin is the buyer dislikes all of it. They want frictionless. They don't want to deal with what your sales team needs. They don't want to deal with how long it takes you to get them a quote. They want frictionless process. They want B2C process. Not easy. So let's be very clear. Let's start right there. But the rest of it is how do we make that process easier for them in the context of what we need to do to buy? So Ruby says, in this construct, Ruby, what can you take out of your sales process that makes it easier for customers to buy? What is it that they need to see? How can they get information? What is self-serve from their perspective? How do we keep the low-intent buyers out of the sales process because they're not going to buy anyway? We just want to talk to the high-intent sales buyers. So those are things to think about when it comes to what does our sales process look like and what friction do we add into it? And will we get to a B2C, outcome? No, that's not practical. There's lots of tools, lots of ways to do it to make it easier, but is it like buying sneakers? No. So how do you just ensure that from whatever your customer expectation is that you're providing them with the experience that they want? And from there, some of that might be just taking friction away and making it simpler, getting information in front of the customer faster, and letting them self-serve in a lot of ways. And then the rest of it is how do we make sure that that becomes an outcome that we can measure from a sales perspective? So before we had all this overhead and after we take out all that overhead, do our results improve? So thinking about that very specifically as a B2B company. So B2C, it's not hard. Give me a great price, make it show up the next day. Generally speaking, you're going to win, says Jeff Bezos. But the other side of the coin is what can we be doing in our B2B world to make that easier? So be very clear, Amazon's trying to figure that out in the same way that you are in terms of what your B2B buyer wants. That's happening. So now, how do we make sure that you, as a company, can have the right conversations, the right outcomes for your customers? All right, Ruby says, get the friction out of the process. You can do that. Maybe you're not going to be Amazon, but at the same time, how can you get closer? All right, have a great one. Walking and Talking with Ruby.